Are you having difficulty manifesting the life you really want? The kind of health, relationships, and sense of joy and purpose that you know is available to you? Let's talk about moving through the resistance to being in the flow in your acts of creation. Hi, it's Misa Hopkins, Mother Misa, as some of you know me. Here at my channel, we explore awakening and healing in the sacred feminine. And if that's important to you in your life right now, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that we can stay in the conversation together. Let's talk about resistances, the kind of resistances that keep us from having the flow in life that we really want to have. When we're manifesting something, when we're creating something in our lives, we can see that there's a wonderful, easy, gentle flow for bringing that into our worlds. We also discover that as we begin to manifest, that we bump up against our resistances, our blocks. We call it stuckness. I can't seem to move past this. Those moments can be moved through, and let's talk about how we do that. Now, when I was much younger, I spent a lot of my life fighting life. Oh my gosh, almost everything I could pick a fight with it. I found a lot of fault with myself. And as a result of that internalization of finding fault, I found fault with everything in my world, all kinds of people. I would see what was wrong with them rather than seeing what was right and what was working. Now, it's probably pretty obvious to you, with that kind of judgment of other people around me, I wasn't creating flow. And with that kind of judgment of myself, I certainly wasn't stepping into a happy and harmonious flow of creation. Now, I'd come to expect the worst in life because of my perceptions. And as you can imagine, that's what I experienced, the worst that life had to offer. My emotions were really volatile during that time. I would explode at the drop of a hat. I would cry. I would be so upset. I'd be depressed and not know why, just down about life because I couldn't trust life. And I couldn't trust my emotions. My emotions were running the show. My emotions were in control, not me. So I always felt like I was this victim of my emotions that I never knew when I was going to be set off. And obviously it must be everything going on around me, right? Must be the people in my life. So I was constantly trying to change other people so that I would be happy and I would feel more comfortable. Now, if you've ever done that, you know it's a losing proposition. It's not my business to change other people. They're living their own wonderful lives and they're going through their own explorations and their own challenges. My job is to be present to me. That need to fix everybody else and everything else, to have control, to have things perfect, that's a codependency. That's where I had so much of myself, my happiness was mapped onto someone else. And therefore, I kept trying to create my happiness over here. But that's not where happiness gets created. It's on the inside. That's where we start experiencing flow in life. Now, I was so resistant and so tense, as you can imagine, that I made myself sick. My body finally collapsed under the weight of my own resistance. The first time was with a hormonal condition, as I've talked about in another video where I was producing as much testosterone as a teenage boy. It was pretty crazy making. And the second was MS when I was in my 40s. Both of those were direct reflections metaphysically and energetically of the resistance that I had to life. The resistance was in my cells. So the only way through was to meet those points of resistance inside of me, in my cells, in my thoughts, in my beliefs, in my feelings. All right, how do you do that? How do you meet the resistance in such a way that it can actually soften, rest, and we can let go of it? Well, in my own case, I went to different healers And I was very careful and selective about what healers I went to. I knew I needed to feel safe and I needed to be able to trust them. So I went to healers that I deeply respected. I felt that they had a journey similar to mine or a message that was really in alignment with what my own inner senses told me was true. They took me to two different energy spaces. One was silence, and the second was in sound. Now, this became really important in my own journey of healing, to do this dance between silence and sound. And for those of you that are students of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, the silence is the sacred feminine space. This is quiet. Remember, we've talked about yin energy. It is very still, very dark, like a womb, right? Has a very gentle ebb and flow, holds all of the possibility and potential for life. It holds us, the sacred feminine does, and all of life in the same way a woman carries a child in her womb. She holds that infant, that growing infant, in great love, and that womb is a place of security and safety. So the silence is that sacred feminine aspect of energy in which we can find comfort and we can find peace. Sound was the second energy body that I was taken into. Now, sound is the expression of sacred masculine energy, because masculine energy is action, expressiveness, motion. And it also can be a tremendously safe place in which to express that which is true for us in the moment. And for me, in both cases, in the experience of the silence and the sound, I met with healers and teachers who were able to embody tremendous compassion, way beyond anything that I had developed yet, so that I could sink into their compassion and start to feel it for myself. Now, I was very blessed. In silence, I studied with Judith Dirk, one of the pioneers in women's circles, in calling women together to hold that beautiful silent space for each other. And in that silent space, we found our deeper truths, the expression of the hidden things that were inside of us that longed to be expressed and accepted, so we could accept ourselves and our experiences as they were. It was from that place we found very deep, profound healing. And it was Judith's work that really touched me and prepared me for the ancient native traditions that were given to me to share, that take women to that same beautiful sacred womb. With sound, I was fortunate to study with Mona Wilson, who was a woman who could hold endless, limitless compassion. And I felt safe enough to find the profound expressions of my soul's journey and my soul's needs. And I'll share a little bit more about that with you in a few minutes. What I discovered as I was able to go into the silence and hold my resistance, or go into the sound and sound or express that resistance in a place that was beyond words and beyond logic, is that I had developed layers of protection. Maybe you've done that in your life too. Have you noticed that? We talk about peeling the onion, to get through all the layers. Well, I like to think of it as putting on our winter clothing. It's cold outside, so we wrap the scarf around our neck. We've got the hat and the mittens. We've got our sweaters on and our coat on, right? And we bundle up to go out into the world to protect ourselves with all of this great clothing, right? That's protecting us from the elements. We do the same thing every time that we experience a significant trauma, a moment of rejection, a moment of unworthiness. We pile on another layer of clothing. And here's what we tend to do. When we start to take things off, we get the scarf off of our neck, right? And we say, oh, that feels better. Oh, okay. Whew, a little less hot, right? Because we've come from the outside. in, and we're starting to recognize that inside we're safe. We don't quite need so many layers of protection now. And then it's still a little bit hot, and we're like, wait a minute, why are things not working yet? And we pull off the gloves and the hat, and okay, whew, another layer. That feels a little better. I feel a lot more comfortable than I did before. And all of a sudden we're feeling really hot. It's really uncomfortable, right? And what's wrong? What's going on? And oh my gosh, we notice we've got this thing on, this coat. Oh my gosh, what's this armor doing on me? I thought I peeled off those layers. Right? Yank that coat off. And then we're upset with ourselves, right? How did I not see that layer? I thought I cleared it all out. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny what we do? We can't know that layer is there until it gets hot enough and uncomfortable enough that we recognize we had another layer of protection on. And when we recognize that layer of protection, that's the time to take it off. And we keep peeling off those layers of protection until all that's left is our true naked selves, the way we came into the world. Pure and beautiful. So pulling off those layers of protection is what the journey is about, and it's sacred, and every one of those layers counts. Now, why are we protecting ourselves? What are these layers of protection we're pulling off? Well, at its root, we're afraid somebody's going to find out, somebody's going to see or recognize what we have difficulty recognizing in ourselves, admitting to ourselves that we feel like we're not good enough, that we're scared, we're ashamed, we're so hurt, we're so vulnerable, we're so tender. We've been rejected so many times, we've failed so many times. We're afraid that somebody's going to see all that and they're going to discourage us and they won't accept us and they will think less of us. You see, it all is rooted in this fear that I'm not worthy. And I've been rejected so many times. I've failed so many times. I have all this proof that I'm not worthy. And this is the soul's journey, to reclaim your sense of oneness with the divine. That it's not about I'm worthy or I'm unworthy. It's about being a precious, precious soul of divine creation, and recognizing that in my self-protection, I created all these layers that would keep me separate from life so I'd be okay. And now, as this self-defining woman or man, as I become a sacred woman or man, I'm going to need to go through the process of pulling off the layers so that I can see who I really am. You see, we consciously choose to let go of our fight or flight responses to everything happening in our lives. We begin to see that the only thing we really ever have any true influence over is ourselves. And if we really want to feel free and in the flow, we're going to reconnect with the divine, and we're going to peel off those layers of protection so that we can do that. Now, a couple of ways that you can peel off those layers of those layers of rejection we've talked about, right? My journey was about sounding those emotions, and I take you through that in length, in great detail, in my Sound Healing for Wellness course, and you can check that out at misahopkins.com. And holding in the silence. And many of you know, and if you don't know, I want you to know now, there's a beautiful ancient holding meditation that takes you safely through your emotions and into the silence. And you can get that for free. It's a download at sacredfemininawakening.com. And both of those links are down below the video. We sound and are present to the emotions that we are experiencing, or we can hold in the silence, in the beauty and the comfort of our own compassion, the emotions that we are experiencing until, and this is the key, until all of that resistance All of those layers of protection have been heard and seen and witnessed and loved enough. We've understood them enough. That's what compassion ultimately is, heartfelt understanding, until finally we can rest and there's peace. And when there's peace, it's a little lull, it's very quiet, it's very still. And from that peace, there is this upswelling of life force, of life wanting to experience and know itself, this creative energy that longs to express itself. And now the sounds change. The sounds are sounds of creating. And the light kind of comes forth from us as we look for the ways to share the wonder that we're feeling inside of ourselves. We are flowing like a river. In fact, it's like being carried down the river. We're not efforting, we're not working, we're not struggling. We're being carried in this beautiful rhythm of peace and in more blessed and happier kinds of emotions where we're feeling our joy, we're feeling our sense of satisfaction with life, a little bit of fulfillment, or just that beautiful peace I was talking about. So in that, now we're flowing. Now we are able to attract a life that we want to have. Why? Because we trust, right? Our emotions aren't running the show anymore. We're able to relax a little bit more. And when we relax, we see the goodness in people. When we're laughing, we see the joy in life. When we're singing, we can sing to the beauty that's around us. Our experience of life is different, and therefore, because this core within us is resonating in this really wonderful frequency, life begins to reflect that back to us. And we much more easily attract into our lives what we want, whether that's health or relationship or a wonderful sense of purpose. Here's my question for you. Where are you experiencing resistance in your life right now? And write that down in the comments below. In addition to that, answer this question as well. What would you need to know or feel in order to let go of the resistance? Write that down in the comments below. You see, when you know what you would need to feel or know, that gives you a place to focus your attention. While you're holding the resistance or sounding the resistance, you also at the same time now can bring additional focus to the feeling or the knowledge that you want in order to help you in letting go of the resistance. If you'd like more tips about letting go of resistance and being in the flow of life, be sure to check out my book, The Root of All Healing, 7 Steps to Healing Anything, where I walk you through the very steps I use to heal MS. And you can get that at my website dedicated to healing in the sacred feminine at misahopkins.com. Thank you so much for your dedication to letting go of the resistance and opening to your beautiful acts of manifestation. And if you'd like to explore further the concepts of healing in the sacred feminine and awakening in the sacred feminine, be sure to subscribe to my channel here. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.